Okay, this next story in A Fine and Pleasant Misery is called Great Outdoor Gadgets Nobody Ever Invented. Thousands of anglers no doubt consider the electronic fish finder one of the top 5 achievements of the 20th century, probably just behind the spinning reel and Einstein's theory of relativity. Personally, I feel the fish finder is a nice enough gadget, but it is not high on my list of priorities for inventions needed to ease the lot of outdoors persons. For some unknown reason, inventors specializing in hunting and fishing gadgets have never unleashed their ingenuity on the really tough problems plaguing men, women, and children who participate in outdoor sports. After some 30 years of research on the subject, I now offer up to the inventors without any hope or desire for recompense, my own list of inventions that nobody yet has invented. There are a number of finders much more important than fish finders, but I will mention only a couple of more significant ones here. Take the hunting partner finder, for instance. This would be used in situations where you have told your hunting partner, "I'll meet you at the top of the draw in an hour," and with malice aforethought, he immediately contrives to vanish from the face of the earth for the rest of the day. I have 2 ideas for this invention. One is simply a red balloon attached to a quarter-mile length of string that floats along above him. The other is a peanut butter seeking mechanical dog that will track him down and clamp a set of iron jaws on the portion of his anatomy adjacent to a slightly below the sack lunch he is carrying on his game pocket. Because you would merely have to stroll leisurely in the direction of the sound emanating from the hunting partner, this finder probably could be considered a sonar device. Right on top of my list of invention priorities is the mean cow finder. It would be used in this way. Say you want to fish a stream that winds through a cow pasture, which, as almost everyone knows, is the natural habitat of cows. A herd of the beasts will have taken up a good tactical position in the center of the pasture, enabling them to control all access routes to the stream and, more important, shut off the avenues of escape. Now your average cow is a decent sort of animal, and I can put up with the mooing advice over my shoulder on how to improve my casting technique and choice of fly. I can even ignore their rather casual habits of personal hygiene, at least as long as they conduct their various indiscretions at a reasonable distance from where I'm fishing. The problem is that it is almost impossible to distinguish a peace-loving cow from a mean cow, the kind who would swim Lake Erie to get a shot at you. What I have in mind is a simple little electronic gadget that will beep or flash a red light if a herd contained a mean cow. The more elaborate models may have a needle that would point out the malicious beast and maybe even indicate her aggression quotient and rate of acceleration from a standing start. I and a thousand anglers like me would trade our fish finders for a mean cow finder in a second, or sooner, I bet. There are numerous gadgets and concoctions on the market for attracting game. What I need is something to repel game. Just last summer, for example, I could have made good use of bear repellent. My wife and I were asleep in our tent in a remote area of Idaho when suddenly I awoke to the sound of a lid being ripped off our aluminum camp cooler. "I think a bear just ripped the lid off our camp cooler," I hissed to my wife. "I heard that," she replied sleepily. "I thought it was you in a hurry to find your painkiller." "Very funny," I said, hopping around in the dark in an effort to get my pants on. "Hand me the flashlight. I'm going there and run the beggar off." I unzipped the tent flap and switched on the flashlight. There in a beam stood a bear approximately the size of a boxcar. He was making a sandwich out of the camp cooler and appeared somewhat displeased at the interruption. "Hey, I yelled. "Get out of there!" "Did you run the beggar off?" my wife asked. "I'm yelling at you! Get out of the tent and into the car! I think we're next on the menu." Not only would a little bear repellent have saved our camp cooler, it would have saved me the repeated tedium of having to listen to my wife regale my so-called friends with an account, including excessively exaggerated pantomime, of my reaction to the bear. Inventors have made great strides on the problem of reducing the weight and bulk of backpacking equipment, but they haven't gone far enough. What I would like is to see them come up with a fully loaded backpack that is freeze-dried. When you had hiked into your campsite in the mountains, you merely have to take your backpack out of your pocket, soak it in a little water, and presto, you have what is a reconstituted sleeping bag, tent, trail, axe, cook kit, and of course, all your food. When I told a backpacking friend about this idea, he scoffed at it. Why not a freeze-dried log cabin and a flagstone fireplace, he suggested, expanding on my concept. That's not bad, I told him. Heck, he said, you'd be the first one to complain about missing the weight of a good pack tugging at your shoulders, the soothing, rhythmical squeak of the frames and harness. For the past 5 years, I told him, the rhythmical squeak of the frame and harness has been drowned out by the rhythmical squeak of my back. I also have several suggestions for new sleeping bag designs. One is primarily for use in small two-man tents. This consists primarily of a time block on the zipper, so that once your tent partner is in his bag, he can't get out of it until morning. My friend Reg spends most of the night crawling around, looking for one thing or another. This does not include his answers to nature's call. On an average night, Reg and nature conduct a regular litany between themselves. Here's the typical verbal exchange he and I have in the tent recently. "Watch out," I yelled at him. "You're kneeling on my glasses." "Sorry," he said. "I thought you still had them on." "I do, you idiot!" Another of my sleeping bag inventions would be primarily for kids who are practicing sleeping out in the backyard. The bags would contain leg holes for running. This would save the kid the time required to strip off his sleeping bag in order to sprint for the house. These would be valuable seconds saved. Speaking of children, I would like to see someone invent a small portable lie detector for use on kids while camping in remote wilderness campgrounds, where the sole sanitary facility is a privy located at the far end of quarter-mile trail, intersected by logs, several small streams, and a skunk crossing, and frequently occupied with strange creatures that screech murderously at you in the dark. Usually these creatures are simply other parents you surprise hauling their tykes down the trail. But you never know. The lie detector would work like this. Just before their bedtime, I would line the little ones up outside of the tent and one by one attach them to the anti-fib device. Is your name Aaron McManus? Yes. Do you have a dog named Fergus? Yes. Have you gone to the bathroom within the last 15 minutes? Yes. Ha! Hit the trail on the old privy, kiddo! Some kind of detector would be developed for purpose of determining whether camp cooking is fatally poisonous. My own system, far from reliable, is to observe whether the plat du jour is killing flies and mosquitoes beyond a 15-foot radius. Some kind of chemically treated paper, or on the order of litmus, would be perfect and a lot less expensive than seeing if the concoction will dissolve a spoon. I certainly have I certainly could have used some of this poison detector a while back when Wretch whipped up his famous stew consisting of canned pork and beans, cabbage, beef jerky, and miscellaneous leavings of a 5-day hunting trip. Crammed into a tent with Wretch and 2 other guys, I spent the night moaning in agony and praying for a quick end to it all. I don't know what would have happened to my present or future if I'd been dumb enough to eat any of the stew myself. Talking about farts. There are a number of life preservers for use by stream fishermen on the market now, but like so many other inventions designed for the outdoors person, their creators have stopped short of the mark. The basic idea of these life preservers is that if you fall in the water, they can be inflated by blowing on a tube. With the kind of water I generally fall into, I don't want to waste any time blowing on some dumb tube. On some of the falls I've taken, I probably could have blown up a 7-man life raft before I hit the water. if mere floating had been my chief concern. To heck with floating. What I need is a way of a life preserver is something that really preserves my life. As I see it, this would be a recording device installed in fishing net vests while I was contemplating whether to cross a peeled sapling over a 60-foot deep rivered gorge, or possibly to make a running leap to land on a moss-covered rock in the middle of some rapids. The life preserver would activate automatically and shout through 2 stereo loudspeakers set on full volume. "Do not try it, you fool! Do not try it!"